starting a piece of music, where does the music come from? Does it come from this particular action as my middle finger touches the E flat in the middle of the keyboard and simply depresses the key? Yes. Sound comes out. And it travels on the waves. And of course my eyes are focused, potentially, very likely, on my action. And somehow my eye directs my intention so that my will engages and I attack the note. But there are many questions to be asked, and as singers we know what we have to practice again and again and again, what is called the attack, the launching of the sound. And as singers we're often reminded that there is a vertical as well as a horizontal sphere to our singing, so that the voice opens up and launches the voice. And as singers we're educated, we're trained to think of the voice as outside of ourselves. That is very helpful, because the production of tone, the production of sound, is one aspect of music making, and if it becomes too dominating of an experience and also an intention and an action, that it is the production of sound in an organized, structured manner as it is given from a piece of music, I am in danger of becoming wholly focused on what is visually in front of me. Yeah. And there's the danger of being completely focused. Yes, it is helpful because it galvanizes my capacity to do the right thing, to comply with the commands of the music. But there's something about music which we have to ask, where does it come from? Beethoven in that little piece of music takes notes from the scale 8 7 6 2 8 7 6 5. And it's very simple. It's almost not even composed. And yet we know very well that it is very much composed, because it's got Beethoven's hallmark all over that middle movement of the Moonlight Sonata, which I'm not going to play. But what I'm trying to address is, how do I overcome the strong pull, I would even say temptation, to be fixated, a bit like a horse with blinkers to purely what's in front of me. Having to read the music already pulls me into that direction, and I have to make an extra effort to have any consciousness of any other part of the space around me. So if I'm focused on 90 degrees in front of me, well, by pure mathematics, it's going to be that I'm missing out on 270 degrees. And the music actually, or rather the tone, unfolds on the waves, and the waves that are around me, or the waves that are produced, the ride on the air, they are all round in the space. They will travel on 360 degrees. So if I am only focused on about 90 degrees, maybe a bit more, I'm missing out on 270, and I do not take into consideration, or I do not employ or tap into, become inspired by, be motivated by, listen into the rest of the space. And that includes what in eurythmy and in the creative speech in particular is termed the backspace. Very simple. Just simply the space that is behind me. Now when I'm looking, at best I have a little bit more than 180 degrees that I am able to take in. This is visually speaking. There is and there, whatever light is shining, I am able to take in that which the light shines upon. That which is behind me is, to all intents and purposes, darkness. And so the backspace is, in a way, a non-visual space. Well, it's obvious it's a non-visual space because I haven't got eyes in the back of my head. Again, eurythmy teaches something very vital at a very early age. If you go to a Waldorf school and you are lucky enough to have a eurythmy teacher who is inspiring, they will give you eyes in the back of the head, and suddenly you go, oh, I can't see, but I now know what's going on. I know that there's something behind me, and I can become aware of it. And it has an effect on how I bear myself, on my posture, on how I move through space. I'm not just goal orientated. I'm going this way. Yeah. Beethoven again, very goal orientated. There's not much backspace here, because if there was, I'd go. The backspace causes me to ask questions because the light is not shining upon it. So I can't go, oh, that's that, that is that, which I'm able to do with everything that I see. I can literally just take a snapshot, and I can go, that's a filing cabinet, that's a funny bookshelf, there's a picture that is on its head, there's another picture, there's a speaker, and I can spend a lot of time naming all the things that I have seen. In my backspace, I have to ask questions. I have to go, what is that? What is there? Can you reveal yourself to me in some manner? Because I cannot see what is there. And that question is far more of a listening activity. The question is posed and activates my listening and invites whatever is in my backspace to speak into my listening activity. And that activity is an attitude. that goes right into my body, as you can possibly see. If I'm just simply focused on playing what's in front of me, or if I have a little bit more of a feeling of, I wonder what. Okay, you can say, well, that's no good. You have to know what you're doing. Yes, you can know what you're doing, but the knowing what you're doing has the risk of simply replicating what you have concluded you are going to be doing. And then your music making becomes little better than a poor replication of a recording. Recording is the same every time you put the CD on, or put the YouTube clip on, or the Spotify, or the LP if you've got such a thing, cassette even. It will always be the same. It may come into a different mood within your particular life situation, and so you may feel better about it one day than another, what have you. But that's subjective. The actual objective reality of what is being played, it's being replicated. So if I just know what I'm doing in a piece of music, I'm in danger of simply just replicating a manifestation, or just replicating what I've done before, repeating. And my inquiry has come to an end. But if I have this attitude of inquiring, and that is, so to speak, able to infuse and to permeate whatever I have practiced, my practice, my perhaps many years of knowing how to navigate the practicalities of a piece, I know what I am going to do. I know which notes come when. I have memorized the piece, but can I still play it with this feeling of backspace, which has this sense of inquiry? What is this? What are you? Oh, I feel something that is possible here. And I feel that if I manage to do what it is I have just gotten a sense of, an inkling, it could be like this. You can go through many, many steps of uncovering a piece of music after you've learned to play note perfect, all the whole piece. And that is overcoming, I'm going to call it something rather drastic, the being focused on 90 degrees in front of you and on your instrument, or violin or cello or flute, whatever. But if I'm simply just focused on that 90 degrees, I am in a sense practicing a sort of musical atheism, or agnosticism at the best. It's not that I don't believe that there is all the other degrees of the space around me, of the 360 degrees, another 270. It's not that I don't believe in it, it's just that I do not utilize it, and I have no concepts for it. I have no understanding of it. Once I begin to enter into it, it starts to reveal its own quality. And it does that to you in a very, very individual way. Because contrary to, or rather, whatever we see, we can change nothing of it. Our inquiry, what is that? It doesn't seem to make any difference whether I ask what it is or not. it is simply there, and I am separate from it. It is in some, I have no influence upon it through my mere being conscious of it, through my eyes. I can observe it, and I can become conscious of it, and I can say that it is there, but I can have no influence over it, just simply by focusing on it or being conscious of it. The contrary is true when I go into my backspace. If I go into that backspace with a sense of inquiry, it suddenly starts to reveal itself, and it becomes like an impulse. It starts to, it's almost like murder in the dark. A game we used to play as children, where the thrill of being in a dark space and not knowing where anybody is, and suddenly being touched by somebody where you did not expect it because your vision did not allow you to anticipate it. The thrill of that touch, or that collision, or being tagged, or what have you, is really powerful. It's very, very powerful. And so when I go into my backspace, so in a way, if you want to improvise, as I just did there, I was just going to play the one note, but suddenly the one note, once you've committed to that one note, which you have to do out of yourself, you have to summon up whatever you can from your backspace, and then you bring it into the moment. And you do not yet have a feeling of necessarily, oh yes, that's come from afar, but you, in a way, you harness it. It's like, something that doesn't actually want to come to you, but you pull it in there in any case, and then it arrives. Yeah, and you're committed to that backspace and whatever is there. And you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. But actually, you bring it there, and you notice if you engage, the horse starts to drink. And you have the unfolding of a narrative, a story. If you want to improvise with a real sense of listening, you need to actually go into that backspace. It does not guarantee anything, and indeed this wasn't a particularly inspired little improvisation, but I could go back into it again. And even though it's just a simple A flat melody, I could go in again and again and again and listen. And it's interesting that composers who are very conscious of the quality of their inspiration, like Beethoven, he was at certain periods of his life, at least, he talks about being very strict. He would compose in the morning. He was able to access or he felt able to, let's say, activate himself in that backspace and work into the musical narrative out of that. And there is absolutely no chance that that can simply just come as a revelation by itself. It's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of working on the threshold of what are the forms of music, how am I working with my keys, my rhythms, my all those sort of you can call them quantitative aspects, but at the same time there's a qualitative world that flows into those quantitative aspects. So you have a meeting of two opposites in a way, the quantitative and the qualitative, and it's a beautiful marriage of that. And that is what works in a harmonizing way on our soul, which is why we enjoy making music, why we feel it to be balancing, therapeutic, cathartic even, and we have pieces of music that take the most extreme polarities and bring them together. Yeah? And whatever the styles are, it's very often it's the same polarities, just within very, very different genres of music. So what I wanted to speak about is how do we even begin to form concepts and understanding and a little bit of a map in terms of how we navigate this backspace. What is in this backspace? What is in this dark behind us, which is very, very closely related to our musical space. It is in essence the musical space, because the visual space is static. We cannot affect it, but somehow our listening space can, or rather our listening activity can entice. It is like it can I can bring things forward through it. It's like, as I said, I can bring the horse to the water, and then I engage and the horses start drinking. Now that is like when if somebody launches into a story and you blank off, you glaze over. If you're no longer listening, it's going to be very hard for that person to continue and complete their story. But if you on the other hand go, oh, here's a story, tell me about it, I want to hear it. Now that is encouragement to the other person to give as much of their story as they possibly can, and potentially even more than they expected. They might be able to tell you more than they have ever told before, that they have ever even been conscious of before, because you're listening to their inner experience, which they are giving words to, has an enhancing quality on that inner experience from which they are speaking. And so the listening into the backspace is an encouragement to something ineffable in and of itself. We cannot name it, and yet we need to have a concept of its truthfulness, of its agency even. But that agency is intimately bound up with our activity, which is the total opposite to whatever I look at on the page. I become a slave to. It tells me what to do. Listening into the backspace is much more like a dialogue. What is there back there? And so I move from this sort of agnostic, all I have to do is what's in front of me at the right time, at the right place, and the music will take care of itself. It's not really sustainable, and certainly you would not be able to compose in such and with such an attitude. So even if you are a sight reader, you need to be have the courage to become awake, to awaken within the backspace, within the listening as well, and somehow try and see if you can bridge and unify your backspace listening activity to your front space taking orders from the script. So the backspace and overcoming musical atheism.